Hello, students of class 9. I'm here today with another story, and this time it is by our very own Indian poet A.K. Ramanujan. A.K. Ramanujan was born on 16th March 1929 in Mysuru, and he was an Indian poet and scholar of Indian literature who wrote in both English and Kannada. His works of scholarship include The Interior Landscape, Love Poems from a Classical Tamil Anthology, 1967. Ramanujan was a poet, scholar, professor, a philologist, folklorist, translator, and playwright. This story is a Kannada folk tale taken from Ramanujan's Folk Tales from India. And yes, the story, like the title suggests, is about a kingdom of fools. Let us see how the story unfolds. So, in this kingdom of fools, both the king and his minister were idiots who did not want to run their kingdoms like every other king did. So they decided to do something different. They passed an order that everyone in the kingdom would work at night and nobody would sleep at night. Both farming and businesses would be done at night. And as soon as the sun rose, everyone would go to sleep. If anyone tried to disobey the order, he would be punished with death. Although it was strange, the people decided to obey their king because they were scared that if they did not do so, they would be sentenced with death penalty. Seeing this, the king and his minister were very happy. One day, a saint arrived in the kingdom of fools along with one of his disciples. He saw that it was a beautiful city. It was a sunny day, but could not find anyone around. They were surprised. Everyone was asleep, and not a single mouse was moving around. Even the cattle were taught to sleep during the daytime. These two strangers were not aware that this kind of order had been passed in the city. So they were surprised to see that everyone was sleeping during daytime. They kept on wandering around in the whole city, and as soon as it was night, everyone woke up and started doing their work. By evening, both the guru and his disciple were very hungry. So when the shops opened at night, they went to buy groceries. They were surprised to see that whatever they bought from the shop cost only a rupee. The guru and his disciple were very happy because the food in this kingdom was very cheap. However, after eating the food, the guru realized that it was not a safe place for them to stay. So, he told his disciple that they had to leave at once. The disciple, being a foodie who loved to eat, did not want to leave this place because the food was cheap there. The guru tried to make his disciple understand and told him that everyone out there was a fool and that was very dangerous. But the disciple was not as foresighted like his guru was. And so the guru finally gave up and left alone, leaving the disciple behind. Every day, this disciple ate a lot of food, due to which he became fat as a huge bull. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He made a hole in the wall to gain access. When he was about to move out of the house, after looting all the things, the wall broke and fell down on his head, and he died there only. The thief's younger brother, taking advantage of the king's foolishness, went to the king and complained that while his brother was following his ancient trade, the wall of the merchant's house fell on his head and his brother died. So he requested the king to punish the merchant and get compensation for his family. The king was so foolish that he did not consider the fact that the dead man was committing theft at the time of his death. He only thought that the man died because the wall fell on him and the owner of the house had to be punished. So he summoned for the merchant. The merchant on arrival was questioned by the king as to whether he was there when the incident took place. The merchant replied yes. However, he pleaded his innocence when the king decided to punish him. The merchant told the king that since it was the bricklayer who had during his father's lifetime built such a weak wall, he ought to punish that bricklayer and not him. The bricklayer was then arrested and brought before the king. He in turn blamed the pretty dancing girl who had distracted his attention by going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling. The dancing girl, now an old woman, was brought up to the court. She in turn blamed the goldsmith who delayed her work. She had given some gold to make jewelry, and because he did not live up to the time he had given her, she had to walk up and down to his shop several times that day. Then the king asked his soldiers to produce the goldsmith before him. When the goldsmith was brought in front of the king, he told his side of the story. He said that the dancing girl was right and that he had indeed made many excuses and made her visit his shop again and again. But it was not his fault. He had an order from a rich merchant, and since they had a wedding at their place that day, they were in a hurry to get their order, and that is why the dancing girl's work had been delayed. The king then asked the goldsmith to name the rich merchant, and he was told that it was the same merchant whose wall had fallen down on the thief. So justice had finally come full circle, meaning that the story had ended at the same person from whom it had started. The king announced that now the merchant would have to die, and he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. As the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on that stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. Hence, they decided that All they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. Finally, the king sent his servants around the kingdom to look for a man who was fat enough to be executed with the stake. They found the Guru's disciple who had become very fat because of overeating. The disciple said that he was a sannyasi and had not done anything wrong. But the king's servants turned a deaf ear to his pleadings. He remembered his wise Guru's words. "This is a city of fools. You don't know what they will do next." While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his Guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The Guru saw everything in a vision since he had magic powers. He could see far and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. So, the Guru arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. When the Guru met his disciple, he scolded him for having had disobeyed him in the past. Then he whispered something in his ears. Then later, he went to the king and addressed him to kindly put his disciple to death after him. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to insist on being put to death first. This led to an argument between the Guru and the disciple, and this made the king suspicious. He knew that there was some mystery behind it. The king, out of curiosity, asked why they were fighting about being executed first. To which the Guru replied that he would say only if the king agreed to execute him first. After the king agreed, the Guru told him that the stake was new, and since they had never found or seen a city like this before, he was willing to die first because the one to do so would be reborn as a king of the same kingdom, and that the second to be executed with that stake would be born a minister, and that since they had lived a holy life for too long, they were tired and they would rather enjoy being reborn a king and a minister. After hearing this, the king was now thrown into a deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. So he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. He told his minister that he did not want that in the next life his kingdom be taken away. He added that the person was a holy man and holy men did not speak lies. He said that they should die first so that they are reborn as king and minister of the kingdom. The king told his executioners that he would send the criminals at night. Firstly, they should execute the person who came first and then execute the second person. They should be careful and not make any mistakes. At night, the king and his minister went to the prison where the Guru and his disciple were kept. They wore the clothes of the Guru and his disciple so that they resembled them. As it was told to the servants, they came and took them along and put them into the stake for execution. In this way, with his intelligence, the Guru was able to execute his foolish king and his foolish minister. When the dead bodies of then king and his minister were taken away to be thrown, the people trembled to see the dead bodies of the king and his minister. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people suddenly thought of the Guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave the town unnoticed. The people of the kingdom thought that they needed a king and a minister, and so they requested the Guru and his disciple to be the new king and minister of the kingdom. It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the Guru. The disciple agreed quickly, and so they finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a rupee. It became like any other place. With that, we come to the end of this story. I hope you all enjoyed listening to it.